I have three big examples that that I lean on. Early on, I was at Travelocity, and we started the agile journey there, and it was a big transformation effort, XP programming for about 300 engineers, and then we went to about 2,000 engineers. So that was a pretty interesting journey, from my perspective. Second, I think I spent some time at PayPal, and at PayPal there were 2 or 3 transformations that I was a part of and I led. One of them was to take PayPal from where we were to just being a payment mechanism on eBay to being a merchant services for every merchant on the web, right? So it was a big sort of transformation, both in terms of mind share, business, software, et cetera. We did an agile transformation at PayPal as well. And the last thing that I did at PayPal was to help transform our operations team, our infrastructure operations team. At Intuit, I think I lead TurboTax, like I mentioned to you. So I'll walk you through some of the transformation that we're going through today. So most of my examples are based on that, but the lessons learned are all based on those 3 or 4 transformations that I've been a part of. And I hope to have some amount of time for questions because we will learn from each other through this journey. Does that make sense? So let me start with, Intuit was founded in 1983, as you guys know, by Scott Cook. And Scott Cook founded this as a very outside-in, customer-centric perspective. He saw his wife doing her bills on the kitchen table. And he said, well, this is crazy. This doesn't make any sense. I think I have a better way of doing it. And that's how we founded QuickBooks in 1983 as a desktop software company. Today, it's about 8,000 people, $4.5 billion in revenue in multiple locations, and has multiple different focuses, right? 45 million customers over the globe use us today. So it's a fairly sizable business today. We've had a history of constant reinvention. 1983, shrink-wrap software, desktop software. Today, I think close to a third of our services are offered on the cloud. 30 million of our 45 million customers use a connected device to interact with us. We still have a lot of legacy, by the way. We still have shrink-wrap software that we send. But as you can see, we have a constant reinvention. We've had to reinvent the way we do software, the way we go to the cloud, how we go from online to mobile, and really continue to maintain our presence in the desktop world, which, unlike many of you may think, is not shrinking from our perspective. So how do you maintain context, and how do you make sure that you have someone who is steeped in a culture of releasing once a year? Desktop software, once a year, releases to releasing every day. It's a big transformation from an engineering perspective, people, process perspective as well. So there are 4 or 5 big areas that we went on when we did this journey. So about a year back, we started seeing issues with the TurboTax business, right? We saw a trend, but it really hit us last year, where our business was not growing as much. The innovation on the product was not as intense as we'd liked. And we saw new competitors coming up, and they were using completely cloud-based infrastructure and capabilities to take away share. So we knew we had a crisis. We had to do something about it. And the crisis was, well, we can't spend any more money on marketing because now the cost of customer acquisition was much higher. So we couldn't spend any more money there. We had to find a way to innovate on product and technology. That was our course of business problem. So 5 pillars, right? Bold vision, and I'll spend some time on each one of them. How do we build? How do we inspect? Discovery, right? Innovating, thinking about the future. And finally, software, as you all know, is a people business. So how do you win the hearts and minds of people as you go through a transformation like this? So the big, bold vision was we did something very unique for our business. We took every one of our employees, right? We took them off for a day. So we shut down the business for a day. And we took them to meet customers on the streets, in Starbucks, in cafes, and saying, hey, tell me about your life, to embed customer empathy, right? Every one of them. This was hard. Think about a database engineer who's never left the office, going and asking people, hey, how do you do your taxes? What's important to you in life? To build some customer empathy. And then what we found was pretty incredible. Taxes are not important, life is. From a customer perspective, they don't care about taxes, they care about their lives. And for the last 25 years, we've had a culture of being very focused on incremental innovation, incremental development. So I know what I want to do. These are 3 features. I want to add them, and it'll make your lives better, thinking that our customers' lives were surrounded around taxes. So the big insight for us is people don't care about taxes. They care about their lives. And every one of our employees went through that experience. From that, we came back, and we created a bold vision. It was based on where our customers are, where they're going, what information, what data we have, and it's completely radically different. And this picture has a meaning to it. We had to make sure it was not too aspirational, where it was not grounded in reality, so people would stop believing. I'm unable to share the content of that vision because it's still confidential, but it suffice to say it's completely radically different than what the work we do today and the business we do today. What we found in this whole journey was it energized our employees amazingly. I mean, they were really energized by the customer empathy that they got. And when we launched the vision, they were really excited. They really wanted to believe. They weren't believing as yet, but they wanted to believe. So part of this was, how do you change the way we do things? Tax software, once-a-year releases, deeply rooted infrastructure. Application was built, one platform at a time. So we had engineering systems, software stacks for each platform separately. And we had to go from releasing once a year to releasing on a daily basis. Secondly, customer insights. We have a significant customer-facing application, and between their insights to releases or changes to the software would take us months. And we had to shrink that to a matter of days. And finally, we had to go from very individual software stacks for desktop, for mobile, for online, and figure out how we go to a services model and use platforms. That was the transformation we had to do in order to meet our bold vision. So I just want to give you a quick highlight on how we think of our sort of technology strategy, right? There are basic things like run the business, hygiene, how do we do things globally, but really try to focus on developer productivity in this whole change. How do we empower and make sure that engineers can do things faster, right? How do we make sure that we get onto services so we can enable engineers to go and write software while designers can go and design experiences at the same time for all our capabilities and our devices? That's what we were trying to solve from a vision perspective. So this is not uncommon to a lot of you guys who had shrink-wrap software and who've seen the journey moving forward. I found that leading technology transformations is very different when you have an install base. When you have software, when you have customers, that's a more challenging problem to solve than if you're a startup with a new idea. Both have challenges, but this transformation sometimes takes a lot longer. So if you look from the left to the right, you see we were a single stack application. Data was pretty much resident only in the application. And over the last 2 or 3 years, we've been trying to get to a point where we free up the data within our applications. And as we free up the data within our applications, it gives us a chance to build services across the ecosystem. So this was sort of the tax journey. Now, if I step back to Intuit, now we have other brands like Mint, Quicken, QuickBooks, software that we do for small businesses. Now, how do we embrace that in our ecosystem? So we changed the mindset of our platforms and saying, well, it's not only about TurboTax or Mint or Quicken. How do we think about a small business ecosystem? How do we think about a tax ecosystem? And how do we think about a consumer ecosystem? And below that ecosystem, we have a lot of services that we are able to reuse. One example I'll give you, we have now a mobile, right? So if you go to your phones today, you can use many of our Intuit applications. So we had the central team build us a location-based service. And that location-based service was rebuilt some 15 times in the company.